Hi guys, I'm going to have a really quick review for you today of Saga Volume 2 and 3. If you haven't read the first Saga, click to go and watch my review. There are no spoilers in it. Watch that review and hopefully you will want to read Saga. I think I maybe convinced like 2 people to read it, maybe. So, and go away if you haven't read it. And if you haven't read either of these, this is going to be a very sort of impromptu review. I've not got any notes or anything, so there is possible spoilers. Volume 2 of Saga. Okay, so we left off Volume 1, and again, this is spoilers for Volume 1. If you haven't read Volume 1, what are you still doing here? Leave, go. I gave you the link already. Go watch the other video. Go read the book. It'll take you like half an hour to read this graphic novel. Go. Leave. Out of the room. Maybe not out of the room, but out of the URL. That was so lame. So we left our protagonists with Isabel having just been blasted, possibly killed if a ghost can be killed, I'm really not sure, and Marco's parents arriving in their huge tree spaceship. So we've got Hazel, she's still, you know, maybe like a few months old. It's not really fully properly explained. And we've got Marco and Alana. We've also got the Stork is dead. Prince Robot 4 killed the Stork. Wonderful person, although she was a bit of a dick, so you know, let's carry on. The Will is really pissed off about that. He's also wanted to help a slave girl on this like weird brothel planet, and this little girl, she's like 5 or 6 or maybe 8. He wanted to save slave girl, and then the big woman thing that I can't remember the name of, she was like, she'll die if she leaves the planet because we have like a failsafe in her brain or some shit like that. It's been a little while since I read the first one. It's not even been that long. This is the gist, okay? This is not specifics. This is a really terrible summary of what happened in the first graphic novel. This one, we are obviously following the aftermath of that. We're following the aftermath of Marco's parents arriving, you get to know Marco's parents a little bit more. His mum is Clara. We get to know Clara a little bit more. We get to know her more again in the third volume. One character we do get to know a lot more is Vaughan, who is Marco's dad, and I think Vaughan is adorable. We also learn a little bit more about how Marco and Alana met and how their relationship developed. We also have a little bit more background into Prince Robot 4's past on the battlefield. He has a little bit about that. We also have a little bit more about the Stork and Will. Not much, but a little bit. Lion Cat is fantastic again, and is probably my favourite character from the whole series, although I love Alana quite a lot. We've got the Will struggling with the loss of his ex-girlfriend, who didn't really have anything to do with him or want anything to do with him, but he was clearly still hung up over. And him also feeling terrible over not being able to save Slave Girl, so we have the aftermath of that. We also have a few new characters which are fantastic and really, really interesting, and again this leaves the story on a huge cliffhanger. Well, not a huge cliffhanger, but such an interesting cliffhanger which follows on in the next volume, and once you finish this one you will really want to read the next volume. Again, the art is beautiful. There's some fantastic art in here. That in particular has been cosplayed before. I mean, look at that. That is really good. That is really good. That is Alana reading the book that they were talking about in the first volume, which you actually get some excerpts of in this, which is really, really interesting. Again, there's still like a lot of sexual references in this. It seems like this is a theme throughout this. It's not something that bothers me, like I said in the last review I had. It really isn't matter to me at all, but it is definitely something that is going to be persistent in this series, and I think if it is something that really makes you uncomfortable, then you might not want to look at it. I think it's fantastic anyway, so it'd be a real shame if that made you not want to read it, but if it is really something that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's understandable. So overall, I gave this volume 5 out of 5 stars because I absolutely loved it and it was fantastic and I got super excited about it, and I really wanted to read the next one. So I actually found a comic book store in the town where my first job is. So it was a couple of towns over and I didn't know they had a comic book store, so I bought the 3rd volume. If you haven't read volume 2, go away. Same deal, if you haven't read volume 2, I'm going to say things about volume 2 which will spoil volume 2 for you. Now hopefully everyone who hasn't read the 2nd volume has left. Volume 3 picks up where a little bit before where we left off actually. So we left off in volume 2 with Prince Robot 4 getting to the author's house on Quietus and torturing him essentially, and then realising that Alana and Marco and Hazel, Clara and Isabel are all in the attic. Bars died, giving his life to make sure that the spaceship continues. We had the appearance of Gwendolyn, which was fantastic and she's brilliant. We also very nearly had the death of Lion Cat, which I cried, but they are alive. They also save Slave Girl and are on their way to trying to find Marco and Alana, when obviously the big thing, the egg planet thing, hatched and was like a big black hole that was like drawing them all in, and so now they've crashed on a random planet, and so yeah, things have happened. So we start off with a little overview of Hazel talking about things that have happened. You have a little bit of explanation as to how how Marco and Alana and their little family end up at the author's lighthouse, which obviously we know is going to happen because we've seen that in the 2nd section. Mostly it's just character development really, I think. There's quite a bit of action, but it's a lot of character development. You have some character and relationship development actually. So we find out a lot more about Alana's past. We also find out more about the Will's past. The Will is still just really like mopey about the stalk. Like, dude, she didn't even give a crap about you. Seriously? But he's still kind of mopey, so we see a little bit more about his past. There's a little bit more development between Gwendolyn, the Will and Slave Girl, who they've now decided to call Sophie. You also get a little bit more about Prince Robot 4, what he's like, and a little bit about his wife and his family as well, come into it a little bit. You also follow these reporters who are reporting on Alana's story, so that's really interesting to see that arc. And there is quite, like I said, there is a lot of action but a lot of character development in this, and there's also a page that will make you fall in love with Lion Cat, because if you don't fall in love with Lion Cat once you've read this page, then I don't know who you are and what kind of soul you have. But it's this page right here, okay, and anyone who's read it, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So we've got Slave Girl and Lion Cat, and she has some conversation and then she hugs him or her. I still don't know whether that, I think Lion Cat's a girl. So it ended on not so much a cliffhanger but an interesting little ending, and I'm thoroughly anticipating the next one. I'm more satisfied with the end of this one than I was with the end of the 2nd one, but that's literally just because I was like, you can't end it there, I need to know more. Whereas this one I'm like, I can wait for the next volume. Like, I want the next volume, but I can wait for it, so that's really interesting. I gave this one 5 out of 5 as well, because it was like thoroughly fantastic again. There's a lot of emotions in this, there's some really great character development, some beautiful art again. If I like cover this side and just show you that, Look at how pretty that is. I also really love the narrative voice in this. I just remembered, because there are some points, obviously you've read some of it in volume 2 that's going to happen in here, so volume 2 is kind of like here, but it's also here, if that makes sense, because you kind of leap this section in volume 2, so you see where you start here where the prince arrives, but all this is from before where Alana and that have arrived, because obviously when the prince arrives they're already there, as you saw in that one. The narrative voice kind of plays on that, and there's a lot of dramatic irony, and it's just fantastic, and I really love it, and I love the narrative voice. And as I said before, I love the lettering, I love the type, I just think it's fantastic, and I really love the series. It's just brilliant. I'm really excited for the series to continue, and it's just such a nice breath of fresh air, and I think it's just fantastic, and I want everyone to read it, and no one's getting excited about it enough. Please guys, let's talk about this more, talk about how fantastic it is. Don't just say it's fantastic, explain why it's fantastic. Yeah, that's everything. Go read Saga because it's awesome, and I will see you all soon. Take care, stay shiny, bye. Maybe I should like plan this review out before I actually do it. No. Brush.